So, welcome to the Spoonies with Purpose podcast. And today I'm interviewing the lovely Audrey Zannese. Zannese. I don't know how to pronounce it. I tried. About purpose whilst living with a long-term health condition. So, Audrey, would you like to just introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Audrey Zannese. I am French. I come from the southwest of France, but I've been living in the UK since 2005. And I am a sophrologist. So that is a name that is going to sound really weird, but basically I'm a mind-body therapist at Step into Sophrology. And yes, the mind-body practice I use is called Sophrology. And through my work, I help especially women who are battling with persistent fatigue on how to manage it, how to take back control of their lives. And I work with a broad spectrum of people from the energy to fatigue levels. So it can be, busy professionals that are overwhelmed, getting more and more exhausted. It can be women who have unfortunately crossed the red lines, gone into burnout, can't recover their energy levels, but also work with many persons who have long-term health conditions. So it could be a condition that leads to fatigue or pain, like MS, for instance, and it can also be people with post-viral fatigue syndrome or chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
yeah, and I'm a nature lover. I've got a cat which I adore. I don't know. What else you want to know about me?
well, that's a good start. But I'd actually like to go into your condition and your experience with living with long-term health condition. So if you could just briefly share with us a little bit of your background there.
Yes, it's an interesting story because, and that's actually how I came to sophrology, is through my long-term health condition. So when I came to Leeds in 2005, I was coming to do a PhD in biological sciences, and I'd had a first episode before the name multiple sclerosis was mentioned to me, but at the time I wouldn't hear it. But another episode happened of optic neuritis when I did the PhD. And so I decided to get diagnosed, and it was diagnosed. And then I had to start taking the treatment. And so at that time, I was feeling so worried. I decided for the treatment that I would put the PhD on hold and that I would go back to France for the time of starting the treatment before coming back. And when I went back to France, I saw a French neurologist, and he told me, you should do some sophrology. All right. So I should perhaps say that in France, sophrology is really popular. It's probably as well known as mindfulness is in the UK. So it's not so surprising that a doctor or a neurologist will recommend it to me.
Yeah.
However, I was a scientist in training, and for me, mind-body practices, I was quite skeptical. It was a bit who land, and I was just like, really, I don't think that's for me. So yeah, he was a doctor. He recommended this. I thought, I'm gonna give it a try, and lo and behold, I gave it a try, and it was transformational. I mean, basically, what happened through the practice, first of all, I knew of sophrology, but I didn't really know what it was about. I had this vision of relaxation meditation, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to sit for an hour on a cushion. I can't do that. And it's not at all what it is about. And what I loved is that from day one, I could practice at home. And let's face it, actually, sophrology is a practice. I think the important thing with it is that you keep on practicing on a regular basis, but it's also very adaptable and very easy to incorporate in your day-to-day life. So I had no problem doing that. And the first thing I experienced was that where I was always really anxious, always thinking about the next relapse, when it's going to be, how bad it's going to be, what's going to happen. I started to be capable to actually not always be in those kind of worst case scenario, always ruminating about it. I started to be more present to myself and capable as well to release tensions, like to really regulate my internal states, the stress, the anxieties, the emotions. And after a few weeks of practice, what happened in a subtle way without looking for anything or expecting anything is that slowly I started to build my confidence.
Mhm.
And I remember the day when I left my flat feeling like fully alive, fully happy to be alive in a way I had never done when I was supposedly healthy. And I was just like, you know what? It's okay. I know I can deal with whatever life throws at me. I'm happy. I'm confident. I've got everything in me to deal with whatever. And that was such a magnificent feeling. And it perpetuated itself all the time I would practice. But then I wasn't a perfect human being, and then I changed. I went from my PhD, which I successfully completed, to do a postdoc. And postdoc, I stopped practicing and had bad experiences again. And when I practiced again, it was better, and was always in the habits of practicing, leaving the practice, my health being good, me being good, and then being negative thinking and having relapses. And I took the decision, you know what? Sophrology is going to be part of my life, and I'm going to train as a sophrology practitioner. And here I was, and I did the complete U-turn on my career, and quite naturally, I would say the clients found me more than I found them, because I wasn't advertising myself as helping people with chronic illnesses, pain, or fatigue. I wasn't actually saying about my condition. But each time I would give a session, someone with a particular long-term condition would come to me and say, "Oh, can sophrology help?" And I was led to come out with my story and to say, "Okay, this is me. I've got MS, but this is how I've managed it, how I'm dealing with it through this mind-body practice." Yeah.
Fabulous. What a lovely story. And I think one of the things that I've picked up from your story that really stands out to me is that a lot of the benefits that you got came along from non-attachment to results. It's like
Yeah.
you weren't looking for the particular results that you got, but because you were being at ease with everything, you
Yeah.
were surprised by the results that you got.
Absolutely. I mean, now that I've studied sophrology, and I'm also education director of the Sophrology Academy, which is a one school in the UK that teaches people to become sophrology practitioners. So I've digged a bit more into sophrology and what's behind it. And now I understand what happened to me. But you are right. When I started practicing, the aim was regulating the stress level, and to be able to, not be in a state of fear and anxiety all the time. That was the goal. That's what I wanted to achieve with the sophrologist I worked with. I came and I said, look, relapse happened. I had this. I was very stressful. Every time I have a relapse, it's after a period of stress. And now I'm about to start the treatment. I'm really worried about this. Can we do something about it? And through the practice, because sophrology is guided by some principles that you apply through each session, there is first the living your body as it really is, rather than the mental perception you may have of your body. So you recreate a connection with the body that is really beneficial and positive, even if sometimes the body is in tension. But the way you are connected to your body becomes really fine-tuned. And there is also this principle of welcoming the experience as it is, without trying to interpret, without the judgment, so trying to let the judgment out when you catch it. And also this principle of positive action, which is not about fake positivity, but we tend to really put our focus on what we perceive is positive. And through applying those principles with each session, even if you do it in the aim of, trying to regulate your stress levels, more fundamental shifts happen within. And that's what I see with the people I work with. I always love it because, we often start with the practical. And sophrology is fantastic in that way because it blends so many different modalities. It's been inspired by Western relaxation, by Eastern meditation. It has so many different tools and techniques. It's very varied, adaptable, and flexible. So easy to use it as a toolbox. But you go from the practical toolbox to the transformation. If you practice, I guess, with an open mind every day
Yeah,
or on a very regular basis, it doesn't have to be very long, but on a regular basis, it really has big impacts.
fabulous. So I want to narrow in on the question of purpose now. Um, this is the Spoonies with Purpose podcast. And I just want to mention anybody watching in the Facebook group, if you have any questions around purpose for Audrey or for me, once we've finished the interview, I'll check in with the Facebook page and we can see if we can answer any of your questions. So please feel free to pop them in at any time they might occur to you. So tell me, Audrey, what does purpose mean to you?
Yes, that's a very good question. I love it. Um, for me, purpose is the guiding light, the direction. It's why I do what I do, but it's inspiring me. It's giving me the energy, and it's guiding me forward. And I think what I've come to realize from the experience that I had is the most important for me with purpose is about following your heart and staying true to yourself, the authenticity.
Yeah.
It's key for me with purpose. Yes, because when I started, the reason I did a PhD at the university was that initially I wanted to be a vet, but a vet for endangered species. So, I wanted to save the world. And I believed that was my mission and my purpose. And actually, along the way, I lost myself because I came to do this, to take decisions and do things that were no longer in sync with me. But I would do them as a mean to. Like
Right.
eventually I'll get to that point, and therefore it's worth the sacrifice, the effort. I mean, just to give you an example, I did a degree in biology and I wanted to go into conservation biology and ecology. And then for my master's, I somehow decided that ecology, because I realized it was a quantitative field, I should develop my quantitative skills. And I became a number cruncher. I did this master's, which was full of mathematical modeling and statistics. But that wasn't me. And that was really hard work. I did it, I put it out, but I was disconnecting from myself. And I've since realized that this was no longer, as long as you are inspired, as you are doing something with your heart, that you are really in tune with who you are, you act according to your values as well, because nature is really important to me as part of my values, a connection to nature. And what I was doing as a scientist, it wasn't fulfilling. It's I don't know how to explain, and perhaps I just didn't choose the right. I'm not saying I couldn't have done it in another way, but the branch I particularly selected wasn't the right one for me, and I lost myself. So I think purpose is finding the direction that inspires you, that guides you, that you feel pulled towards because your heart asks for it.
Yeah.
And it's okay as well. It doesn't have to stay always the same. It's learning to follow your heart.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned it doesn't have to stay the same, because I kind of feel that as well, that our purpose will keep changing over our lives, and that our heart's desire can change over time as well. So it definitely, I can really resonate with that sense of it's about just yeah, getting more and more in tune with your authentic nature. And that's what you've been describing. And I love the way that you pointed out that quite often we can think we're serving our purpose, but when we choose a means to an end that doesn't align with our authenticity in our hearts, then it's usually taking us away from our purpose. So thank you very much for sharing that. That a lot of wisdom there, I think.
Been hard learned, but
Yeah.
yes, it was essential to learn that lesson. So from that point of view, I would say MS has saved me in some way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's taught you how to reconnect with that authenticity and your heart's purpose.
Exactly.
Beautiful. So how do you balance following your purpose with living with a long-term health condition? Have you got any tips with how to make sure that those things are in balance?
Yes, and that's an interesting one as well, because I think if you are aligned with your heart and you follow your life with that purpose as a guiding light, things start to align as well in body, mind. And for me, I've certainly seen this, that I've managed to align myself in a way that at the moment my long-term condition is not impacting me hugely on my day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
Or perhaps the perception has changed, that I don't focus on it in the same way as I used to, and it's not impacting me in the same way that it used to. It's been several years now that I've been in remission. I still get to manage my energy levels. So although I don't feel frustrated by the lack of energy, but I am aware that compared perhaps to some other people, I don't have the same energy levels as them. But now I'm okay with that because I've stopped comparing myself and I just advance at my pace. And as long as I say I'm connecting to me and I'm true to my heart, things are all right. So I think that balance comes from probably a lot of self-awareness and a lot of as well compassion and self-love, to be yeah.
Oh, that's such a lovely way of expressing it, is that when you have that compassion for yourself, that awareness and that love for yourself, then you don't have the urge to serve others and serve when it's not right for your well-being.
Yes, and that's the thing as well that happened with the last relapse I had. I realized I had again moved a long way, or learned quite a bit, because the last relapse I had, which I didn't see coming. So that was different from what I experienced before, because as reconnecting with my body, I was getting quite good at sensing, listening, and picking up the signs that a relapse or a flare-up was on its way, and therefore avoiding it. And the last one came really out of the blue. And I did have my panic moment. I mean, I'm a normal human being. I was just like, so I had my 24 hours. I allowed myself the 24 hours full panic mode. And then I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to take this as a message. Not the end all, but it's a message. I'm not aligned right now. I'm going to give myself the rest. I'm giving myself permission to process the emotions that I've been hiding, because there was a lot of that. Clearly, I came to realize afterwards, and we'll take it from there. And actually, in a week, I was a lot better, and I was up again, and it's learning to, yes, give yourself that permission to listen to yourself and to be there for yourself.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. And one thing that seems to come through quite clearly from your message, which really resonates with my message as well, is the importance of allowing things to be the way they are. So even when you were in panic mode, the way to get through that was to first allow it, to have compassion for yourself for being in panic mode, and to allow yourself to process those feelings. So I see that as a really key part of living well with a long-term health condition, so that you can align with your purpose and flow with what you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about this conscious allowing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I used to have this tendency, to beat myself up and push. Oh no, this has happened, and put the pressure. Oh, but why this happened? It shouldn't have, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that, or I did too much of this or too much of that, and you keep beating yourself up. And actually, I've learned that's all right. Whatever it is for my highest purpose, and I'm going to learn from this. And now I see when I get challenges and things that are perhaps a bit difficult to handle, I tend to be able to not get myself so caught up in it, I would say, but rather stepping back and also having this awareness that perhaps it's a springboard, like an opportunity to grow further and to develop further. So I tend to see the hiccups and the challenges as growing opportunities now, which was not the case 15 years ago.
No, that's lovely. And I'm going to drop in something that I'm doing right now, which in my membership program, we're looking at the thrivers mindset. And for me, that's a quality of a thrivers mindset, is that you see challenges as opportunities to learn, to grow, to move that one step beyond where you are now. So I just wanted to pick up on that one, because again, it's such an important point.
And I mean, let's not as well say that it's all pink tinted.
Oh no.
It is tough. At the time it happens, it is tough.
Yeah.
It's allowing and it's allowing yourself to feel whatever you feel is okay. As I said, I allowed myself the panic mode.
Yeah,
It wasn't pleasant.
exactly.
But
Yeah. And almost I would say that if you don't allow yourself to feel that toughness, and you don't allow yourself to go through, have compassion for the difficulties that you're in, it is very difficult then to turn your perceptions around and see the growth from it, because you're actually shutting it down, you're keeping it away from you, and you're not giving yourself a chance to grow and move beyond. So the actual allowing yourself to feel horrible is such an important part of it, isn't it? Or allowing yourself to feel whatever those feelings might be, no matter how horrible they are. Let's put it that way.
yeah, there's that saying, isn't it? What you resist will persist, or something.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hang on to it, if you cannot let go, then it
Yeah.
just becomes worse. But again, I learned it the hard way. There has been a particular relapse where I hung on to it and lasted 3 weeks, and I was miserable for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to learn from it.
We learn from them, yes. Absolutely. And I mean, similar for me, I've had some crashes that have lasted months, and what I've had to learn from those are the persistent nature of surrender. Like during those times, I might be able to let go briefly, but then I'd want a result. And the more I kept going back to, I want to see this getting better, I'm fed up of this, or just kind of, right, I'm just going to wait for this to pass, but in a really kind of resisting way, things have gone on and on and on. And it was only when I really learned to allow my frustrations out, even if they came up every day. But also then at the end of the allowing of that frustration, the allowing of the feeling, to then surrender and just not fight what was happening, to go with the flow of it. And I think that those lessons in surrender have moved me to a point where I am much more aligned to the spirit flowing through me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
beautiful.
I don't want to go on for too long. So, Audrey, can you tell me a little bit about what's going on for you now as a sophrologist?
Yes. So I do have a short free training coming up next week from Thursday the 14th of March to Sunday the 17th of March. So over 4 days around lunchtime, UK time, so 12:30 to 1 p.m. I'm giving some bite-sized learning around how to manage and restore energy levels. So we have a little program. I'm going to talk about the art of pausing and pacing. I'm going to be helping people discover their own unique energy patterns. I'm going to guide a sophrology session to revitalize, and I'm also going to share about values and their link with your energy levels. And yeah, so there is this free training. I believe I shared in your group the link, so everybody from your group is very much invited. But if they want to get the details, they can contact me. And I'm also at the moment in the enrollment for my 12-week course, the Ultimate Wellbeing Program, is opened. And that's a 12-week journey which is especially designed for women who are living with chronic fatigue. And I take them to that step-by-step process where we learn to reconnect with the body in a positive way. And then we start building our flexible, positive mindset, not fake positivity, but something that is much more natural, until we align with what's important to us, and some also key specific techniques that can be used, because often with chronic fatigue, there are pains associated. So we use some specific techniques that can help with the fatigue and pain management in that program. And yes, if anybody is interested in hearing more, please do contact me. It's starting on the Thursday, 28th of March.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Now, I will share, when I post this to my podcast, I'll be sharing all the details so that people can connect with you there. For those of you in the Spoonies with Purpose group, if you check out the Spoonie Market Day post this week, and probably maybe next week as well, I'm sure Audrey will post it in that on Tuesday. So you'll be able to do that. Now, before we finish, I'm just going to head over to Facebook and see if we have any questions in the chat on the Facebook page. So if you just give me a second, let's see if anybody has asked any questions. It doesn't look like there are any comments yet. So I'm just going to do a quick refresh. No, we don't have any questions. So let me get back to Audrey here. So I think that's probably it for today then, Audrey. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been such a pleasure talking and discussing purpose.
Thank you so much, Julie. Yes, it was really good. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. And for anybody who is listening, would you just like to tell them the name of your website?
Oh, yes. So you can find me at stepintosophrology.co.uk. And I just perhaps going to mention that I offer a free 15-minute, no obligation consultation. So you can contact me, discuss your issue in confidence. We can discuss whether sophrology is the right fit for you and how it could help you. And that's absolutely free. So if people want to reach me, do book an appointment.
Fabulous. Okay, then. Well, thank you for joining me. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, if you're not yet a member of my Facebook group, check out Spoonies with Purpose, Creating Joyful Wellness Together, and come along and join us all there. All right, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye.